And I mean, we're just not meant to win an overtime game this season for the Flyers, I suppose. I think that's what it's come down to at this point, Smitty, because they've tried everything you can try in overtime, including the very rare 2D and 1 forward. And since they've done that, they've had their most potent overtime performances, but they've resulted with the same result of an overtime loss.
Yeah, it's they're in a bit of a disadvantageous situation in these 3-on-3 overtimes, because what's manifesting itself right now with this team is pretty simple, and that's that they don't have enough high-end talent to regularly beat NHL goalies. It doesn't seem. I know that they had 4 goals tonight. Coyotes also did. I think 4 of the 8 goals were on breakaways / 2-on-0s. Just one of those nights.
High event.
If they again right now they're building things up and getting things ready to go here for the future. They can find 1 or 2 people that they can just throw out there in a 3-on-3 overtime situation, and if they get a chance, they're going to bury it. That's going to do a whole lot to get this thing turned in the right direction. They are playing well overall, but again, they just don't have what it takes right now to routinely put the puck in the back of the net, which is somehow or another, it seems like the Arizona Coyotes have more of that than the Flyers do, just judging by what some of those breakaways looked like tonight. It's unfortunate. I'm sure the team is extremely frustrated at how that ended. They were, though, as Timmy said, at least able to fight back, get it to overtime, get that point, and at least come away with something here. But by and large, the last half of the game in particular, the Flyers looked excellent. Just unfortunately, again, had a couple of lapses that led to goals against. Actually, I guess it would just be the 2 of them. I guess 2 of the 4. And then it's just another frustrating evening, I'm sure, for them. But again, there were some good things in this game.
I'm going to put you back to work with Elias to check something. When's the last time the Flyers played in a game and there were 7 multi-point performers in a game? 4 for Arizona, 3 for the Flyers with multi-point performances. Not only multi-point performances, but you had a hat trick in the game by Clayton Keller. You had a multi-point performance and then some for, this is the breakout game for Morgan Frost. He's got a goal and 3 assists in the game. They're big goals. 4-point game. He's got the 4-point game. Owen Tippett's got 1 and 1. James Van Riemsdyk also pots a 4-point game with 1 and 3. 2 4-point games for guys, and it comes in a loss. That's almost unimaginable.
Yeah, it really is. And that's obviously the hallmark of a line having a good night. Just looking at some of the other numbers that we look at line-wise, Travis Konechny had 13 shot attempts in this game. He had 6 on goals, 7 that didn't make it, and Kevin Hayes had 9. So between the 2 of them, you're looking at 22 shot attempts on that line, and
11 actual shots on goal.
Yeah, and it was Cates was between them, right?
Yeah.
So he had 4 more. So that line was generating. They were generating chances, and we'd have to go back and look at the chances by line, maybe tomorrow. But the one thing I do like about again, we're looking for underlying things here. Scott Lawton was 12 for 17 tonight on faceoffs.
Yeah.
And again, this is it's the Arizona Coyotes and all that, but that's more like what we saw from Lawton in past years. He was right up there with Giroux and Couturier the last 3-4 years. Again, he's now being put up against guys of higher talent that those guys aren't facing off with because they're not on the team anymore. At least Couturier is still not playing. But that's got to be a good night for him to take that away. So, again, this is a team that stole one from the Boston Bruins last time out, and I think you're seeing exactly why. It's the same kind of stuff we saw here tonight.
Yeah, and it's like we've talked about this before. the moment after a loss, an overtime loss, it is emotional. Like we do understand from our rational side that this year is not about results and it's about seeing young players develop. So I'm still stung by the loss right now. In the immediate aftermath of it, like after we were after the Vegas game, you play this game and you play 60+ minutes, and then it ends like that, and you're like, oh man. But they get it to overtime. They lose in overtime 5-4 tonight. They lose 2-1 against Vegas to start off the trip, and that part does sting. But let's park that emotion for just a second and talk about the young players, because we just talked about Morgan Frost with a goal and 4 assists, very creative playmaking, and you just hope this snowballs the confidence even bigger as it rolls downhill, provided it continues to roll downhill. But you got to also talk about Cam York, because he's a +3 in the game. He's out there in overtime for the second straight game. Had a great chance. I don't know how he got the angle of that shot over the net, but he did. But just creative skating coming out of the corner there. And again, tonight, no liability defensively, made plays offensively, and played aggressively. If we're looking for young players to take steps, and this is only the second game of the year for Cam York, it's a good big second step that he just took.
Yeah, I mean, that one chance he had down low, what he had to create to get there is more impressive than him being there. And that you see that kind of thing, and it's like, ooh, that if that can continue to develop, that would be great. He had a 60-degree lob wedge there that somehow sent that puck almost straight up.
The Mickelson flop.
I just, he normally in that situation, you're not able to get enough under it, and you end up putting it right into the goalie's pads. He put it up over the crossbar, so that was pretty impressive there. And then yes, that game from Morgan Frost is the kind of game that John Tortorella has been looking for. That's what he means when he says that he thinks Morgan Frost can do more, that he can take over games, that he can be dominant. That was it. Yeah. And so I don't know how we bottle that and reproduce it, but I really hope that leads to several more games like that from him, because that is what the Flyers need to try to get something going here.
Yeah, we don't need to hold him to that 4-point bar per game, but
no. Yeah, I'm just talking about creating
confidence. Yeah. And just the willingness to make plays without worried about the willingness to make a mistake. I think that's the big thing. I think that the chemistry with James Van Riemsdyk, having that, old veteran on his line there, helps too. Because James is the one thing about James that I think is underrated is his playmaking ability. We know about the hands, the deflection ability to deflect shots and redirect pucks and net front and all that, but his playmaking ability has been a part that's underrated. It's not the hallmark of his game, but it's an underrated part of his game. And he seemed to play off Frost very well in this one, and those two each with 4-point games. The goal that was scored in overtime from Clayton Keller to get the hat trick, I know Timmy and Coetzee were kind of befuddled how that one went in. When I went back and looked at it quite a few times, I believe it was deflected up off the stick of Cam York, as he's doing exactly what he's supposed to, get a stick on it and try and mute the shot. And there's an angle on his stick as he's reaching in across his body, and I think it just elevates the puck, and that's enough to fool Hart and put it over his glove.
Yeah, he's trying to do the right thing there. He's trying to, get a stick on that, block the shot, get it off target, and unfortunately, it just doesn't get quite enough. If he got anywhere near the angle on that puck that he did on the one that he shot it, we would have been still playing.
I'd say it's in the upper deck, but they don't have one.
Yeah, at the roof. So again, he's trying to do the right thing there. He's trying to get in the lane, and unfortunately, those are the bounces that you get sometimes. But again, I liked his game overall, and I thought he might be a little more comfortable tonight, and I thought he looked a little more comfortable tonight, and especially in that overtime, jumping in on the play, and the one goal that you mentioned where he wasn't involved, but he was right there looking for the rebound. He seems like he's settling in well here through 2 games.
Yeah, you can tell. I just looked at the replay and frame by frame did as best I could with the technology we have, and you can see Carter goes all the way down on top of his glove on top of his pad with his glove, thinking that's coming lower. When it goes high, and you can see the head snap after it goes in, and he's like, "Damn,
how did that
get deflected up?" as you heard me just almost break my broadcast desk here in half, but that was my impression of what he was thinking in that moment. So
Yeah.
ultimately, it's an overtime loss. Flyers will look to get a win on this road trip, first win in game number 3 against the Colorado Avalanche, team they beat last week at Wells Fargo 5-3. Colorado will be looking to exact a little revenge. Still shorthanded, but we'll see how that one plays out come Tuesday evening. All right, so let's wrap things up from here. Let's thank a few people. Let's start with our in-studio engineer. How about Ryan Shuttlesworth? Great work back at the station tonight. Also, on highlights tonight was Haley Simon. For Tim Saunders, Steve Coates, Brian Smith, I'm Jason Martinez. You've been listening to Philadelphia Flyers Hockey, a 5-4 loss in overtime against the Arizona Coyotes on the BetRivers.com Flyers Broadcast Network. Good night, everybody.